those names correctly? Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. And yeah, as we're just waiting for a few people to come on, just want to let you know this is a podcast that's geared toward people who are either thinking about going into long arm business, or maybe already are, and just want a little bit of guidance, and kind of to hear the voice from some other people that are maybe have blazed a little bit of the path before them. And so this whole thing is about being able to be inspired, encouraged, maybe instructed, and maybe to avoid a few of the pitfalls that maybe you guys have seen on your path before. So let me make sure that my sound is turned off on my cell phone in case my wife tries to call us during the middle of the podcast. There we go. All right. Well, as I said, we have Jen Saxena with us, and we have Debbie Giordano. And I guess we'll start, if it's okay with Jen, we can start with you. And I'm just gonna go roughly a half an hour with each one of you, and just ask you a few questions, and kind of see what you can impart to the people that are watching. So Jen, we'll start out with you, and so we'll start out with where is home for you? Where are you located?
I'm in Katy, Texas, which is just outside of Houston.
Okay. Down in the big old state of Texas. So how long have you been on this long arm journey?
Well, it started in 2012 when I started renting time on a gamble, and kind of felt like it might be something that I want to do at some point. And then my kids were born, and I had started saving, and then the opportunity came in 2015 to get my machine and start quilting. So I've been quilting since then. That's my only job.
Okay. And as we're going through this, Debbie, if you hear something that we're talking about and you want to put in your 2 cents worth, you feel welcome to jump right in. So Jen, what would you say was the impetus that made you want to get into quilting in the first place?
Quilting or long arm quilting?
Long arm quilting.
Okay. Yeah, I think I had quilted all of my own quilts on my domestic machine for a lot of years, and then in 2012 I figured that I needed to hire it out because I had some tops that just weren't going to get finished. And so there was a quilter in Melbourne, Australia, where I was living, that just kind of invited me into her home and showed me her business and how she ran things. And we kind of just got to talking, and she rented time on her machine, or rented her machine to me, and taught me some of the ropes. And that is kind of when I thought, this might be something that could be good because it's flexible. I had just had my first child. I knew I was going to be having another one fairly soon after that. So, I kind of had it in the back of my mind. And then that same year, I ended up coming to the Houston International Quilt Festival. And I got to go through it was my first time at the Quilt Festival. And I went around to all the, booths and tried all the machines, and really felt like I really wanted to do
You thought this
something
is
with
something
long
that you
arm.
can do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really love the gamble. So that's kind of what got it started.
Awesome. So you say, were you in Australia when?
I
Okay.
was, yes.
Okay. So you've got some international history there. That's awesome. Well, so when you first were looking at these long arms and you first decided to get one, did you start out with a Gamel?
Yes.
Okay. And when you first started, did you do it specifically to go into business, or was it just for
Yes.
personal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big investment, and I looked at the different options and just the ability with the Statler to get up to be able to start quilting day one and be able to get jobs out was really attractive, especially with the edge to edge, and then the computerized edge to edge specifically. So I just went ahead and did the whole thing and got the Statler from the start.
Okay, awesome. So, and so when you were at the quilting shows and things like that, you kind of checked out and shopped around a little, and you decided to go with the Gamel,
Mm-hmm.
huh? Okay. And you started right off the bat with the full on Statler. Was it the Optimum, the big, or the big one?
It, I think so. I think so. I
Okay.
think it's 3012.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be the Optimum. Do you still have the same one today, or?
Well, when the Ascend upgrade came out, I was one of the first to sign up for that again at the Houston Quilt Show. So I
Okay.
have the Ascend now.
So you've been staying just top of the line the whole way through.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So before you started, when you're getting ready to start doing long arm as a business,
Mhm.
did you know that there was enough business out there available, or did you look into that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did. So, it's kind of hard to tell and know for fact and know for certain. But what I did do is I went out and called the quilt shops, um, and just kind of asked what their turn time was. And I was hearing everything from like 6 weeks to 3 months. And then I talked to some other long arm quilters in my area. Some of them were running Gamel, some of them were not. And they were very, very open and kind and sharing information with me about their turn times. And so, Houston, I feel like is pretty saturated and gotten even more so. But I kind of thought that based on turn time, that there was probably some opportunity. I just didn't, it was kind of a leap of faith because I didn't know exactly where I would end up fitting in the market, but
So
I felt
you
like
you
there was
kind of
enough.
so you kind of talked to some other long armers and got a
Mm-hmm.
feel for what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so you say you kind of had a feeling that the your area might have been kind of saturated, but on the other hand, there was this wait time,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
you just went ahead and made the plunge, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And after you started, how did that go customer wise? Were you able to get a lot of customers right off the bat, or what about that?
Not really. Not really. I was starting from scratch. What happened though is that somehow I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I got connected with this kind of rural quilt charity, and there was a group of like 7 or 8 ladies that all they did was make quilt tops, and so I started quilting for that charity, and that kind of helped me get to know my machine. And then I guess word started going around, and I became a member of the Modern Guild in Houston, and people started trying me out, and it grew pretty quickly by word of mouth.
And have
But I
you
would say the first 6 months, to be honest, the first 6 months were a little slow, but I stayed busy and I used that as an opportunity to learn.
so did you do advertising. Have you done advertising right at first, and do you still
Yes.
do that, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think things have, so this was 2015, and I think things have changed since 2015. Social media and internet is very different than it used to be. I tried some Facebook ads and didn't have a lot of luck. I went to some local craft shows and didn't have a lot of luck. But really it was the word of mouth, and that's by far the most powerful marketing tool for me.
Yeah,
And
that's what I've
mhm,
heard from almost everyone we talk to. It's always
yeah,
word of mouth, word of mouth. So that's a good thing.
yeah.
Um, uh, Talking about when you first bought that first Statler, um, uh, how did you come up with the funds, or did you finance that? What was that like?
Yeah, so I started saving for it in 2012, and by 2015, I had had about 3/4 of the funds in cash, and I thought it was going to take me a couple more years to get the rest of it. And it actually turns out that my dad saw my some of my work and really liked it and decided to gift me the Statler. So
Wow,
yeah,
very
that's
nice.
how that came about.
So did you have another job at the time, um, when you first started? And
No, no,
okay,
we had just moved to the States, and my husband was working in Canada, and I, had two toddlers essentially. So I was not working.
okay. And are you pretty much doing long arming full time these days?
Yes, yes. So for a while I was, full time, 40 plus hours a week. But I've recently scaled back a little bit in the past couple years, and it's actually since I got the I mean, since I got the Ascend, I was able to do more in less time. And instead of growing my volume, I just kind of let myself have that extra time. So I've kept my volume pretty steady, pretty flat for the past few years, but I have more time now, and I'm in a happy sweet spot because of it.
So it's sounds like it's given you a bit more freedom to, you could choose to either grow your business or live more life. Um,
Hmm.
these days, about how many hours a week would you say you put into quilting, long arming?
I would say about 30. Yeah, about 30.
Oh, good.
Hmm.
Well, so do you do only edge to edge, or do you do any custom?
I do some custom. It's not a skill that I have highly developed. So I'm kind of picky about the jobs that I do because I want to make sure that I do a really good job. If it's something that I don't feel like I can do a good job on, I'll refer it out. But I do primarily edge to edge and some custom.
And that custom is considerably, or would you say it's considerably more time consuming?
It is, but it's also can be really rewarding. It can be very rewarding. So it's kind of worth it as long as I don't overcommit.
Gotcha. Well, and that leads to how are your rates that you charge structured? Do you like charge a minimum or
Hmm.
loading fee, extras, or
Yeah.
how does that work? Tell me
Yeah.
what about
So my minimum is kind of low. I do a $40 minimum quilting charge, and I get a lot of table runners and throw pillows and things like that. And it works for me. Otherwise I charge for edge to edge by the square inch. And I believe it was in 2022 that I raised my prices. So I started out at 2 cents a square inch, and now I'm at 2.5 cents a square inch.
Okay. So if you were to make a an average queen size quilt, what would you say the average cost would be for one of those?
Uh, Quilting fee would probably be about 200, and then there would be a batting charge on top of that, most likely.
Okay. And
Mhm.
in your business, do you sell extra things like batting, fabrics or and things like that?
Yeah, throughout the years, I've tried selling different things just to see what might work with my client base. And really, it's the batting. They love the batting. And I really don't sell much else because it's just kind of more work than it's worth for me. So I just sell batting, and I try to keep it priced um, at a place where it's really convenient for them to use my batting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, how, say your worst year, which maybe was your first
Mhm.
year from hearing what you're saying, um,
Yeah.
how many quilts or how much revenue would you say you made when you first started out, maybe that first year?
So my first year, I ended up doing about 100 paid jobs.
100 paid jobs?
Yeah, and then more, probably another 50 for charity.
Okay. And
Mhm.
what about your best year?
Um, oh gosh, let me do some math. I should have been ready for this question. I know
Well,
I
I don't
should
mean
have
to put
been.
you on the spot, but just the people that are watching,
Yeah.
want to kind of see
Um,
what kind of
so I would,
revenue.
yeah. So I would say between like probably about 275 was my best year, and that's a bit where I hold.
275?
Yeah, 275. But again, I'm not working full time, and I know that I could, there's a lot of potential there. Let me just put it that way. There's a lot of potential there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So, for the people that are watching, what would you say if you had to think of the hardest part of growing your business? What would you say was the hardest part of that?
Um, what I've found challenging is there have been a couple of times where as I'm growing, my business processes can't keep up with the growth. And so I've had to figure out how to get better in those areas. I would find myself doing a lot of admin work. And just to give one example is a year ago, I went to an online Google form. So managing the queue, all of that started taking up a whole lot of extra time once I hit a certain kind of volume. So by going to the Google form, I was able to, it creates the queue automatically. All the information is there, and I can schedule out a couple of months, and it really helps facilitate communication between the client and myself. So that's one example, but I've had to do that in other areas. I think other things that, often don't get talked about a lot are costs of overhead. And, I was buying batting a certain way for several years, and then freight costs go up, and you kind of have to reevaluate your vendors. And so those are the sorts of things that I have found a little bit challenging because I just want to quilt, but you know, those things exist as well.
So what you're talking about is mostly the processes and the way you organize and run the business.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
I will say, one of the reasons I went with Gamble is because it's a reliable machine. And so that has been a steady constant for me all 8 years. So as I was going through other challenges with the business, trying to figure out what do I need to change, what do I need to do differently, I didn't have to worry about the machine at all, which was really nice.
so when you who's been your biggest cheerleader throughout all this?
I have this one client that just cheers me on and tells me I need to raise my prices and before I do, and she's extremely supportive. And I often run ideas by her. She's extremely smart, very, very smart. And so she's kind of, she may not know it, but she's kind of my my personal cheerleader, I'd say. Yeah, she encourages me a lot.
Well, that's awesome. So as you've you're like pretty much full on in this lifestyle now, what kind of impact has the quilting money and control of your personal schedule, what kind of impact has that had in your life? And what would you say to the
Huge.
people watching?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, one of the things that was so appealing about a quilting business is that I can quilt any time of day. And you hope that your kids are born and everything is normal, but that's not always the case. And so, early on, I had lots of doctor's appointments, lots of therapy appointments, and I was able to quilt around all of that. And then as they got older and got into school, I was able to be a part of their like PTOs and volunteer in their school and be present. Oh, sorry about that. Be present for them. And so the flexibility has been huge. And then the money, the extra money is always nice to have.
If what is one thing that you wish somebody would have told you when you first started out on this?
Good question.
If you could think of any pitfalls maybe that you've had or that you could help somebody else
Yeah.
avoid.
Um, it would have been good to hear this from somebody. Do you and find your way. There is a place for you, and there is a place for wherever it is that you find your passion in quilting. And it
So,
may take a while. It may take a while to figure that out. It may take a little while to figure that out, and that's okay. But keep searching, keep looking for your place, because that's what's going to make you different in the world of long arm quilters.
and how do you think they can find their place? Where do they go to look for that?
Everywhere. Just explore. Try everything. Quilt as much as you can. Make note of what you like, what you enjoy, what gets you excited, what you're good at. And just keep exploring, keep looking, keep taking classes, keep meeting people. I often find a lot of inspiration in other people.
So, so it sounds like this is something that you've really it's not been just a business for you, but it sounds like something that you've enjoyed doing and you're able to just take pleasure in doing this. And so do you think that the people that are watching, do you think that in this day and age in 2023, is it still possible for somebody to actually do something like this and get into long arm quilting and build a life for themselves with this?
I mean, I think so, you know, as long as there's quilters, we're gonna need long arm quilters. And some of the industry reports that I've seen in the past year say that the industry is continuing to grow. So yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Well, Jen, yeah.
There's some questions here, Bobby. Do you want me to kind of read and answer those? Do you see those questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Okay.
I don't have Andrew here to go along with these things. Okay. So we've got a question from Sarah. What does the Ascend upgrade do for you, say with an Optimum?
Yeah. So it just means that I can run my machine faster. So I was running it about 12 at about a 12 prior to the Ascend, and now I run it at a 16, 17, depending on the pattern.
So you notice a significant difference in the amount of work that you can get done with the Ascend.
Yes.
And I will tell you, working in tech support, I just know that the Ascend has, it's got beefier motors that can move the machine, and you can move at a lot faster speed, and while still maintaining the accuracy in the stitching.
Yeah.
So yeah. So does she mean 275,000?
No. 275 quilts. And I'm a mom too. So it is definitely opportunity for more, but that's probably my max year.
And this this Google form that you're talking about, where do you find that?
I made it.
Okay.
And I'm happy to share that if anybody wants to reach out to me. I'm happy to send it to you so you can look at it.
Okay. And what software do you use to manage your customers? Douglas is asking. Production vendors,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. So I have used QuickBooks Desktop to manage my customers and invoicing. And then at this time, I've really simplified my vendors down to two. I used to have more, but I just have simplified it to two. So I just work with them directly.
Okay. And Douglas also said you talked about scaling your processes. What things have you automated?
Off the top of my head, the the I just mentioned it. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the Google form. The other thing is when I went to QuickBooks, that brought in all of my data, all of my banking and financial data. I was using another quilters program before that, and it was more labor intensive, so to speak, and didn't have as much reporting capability. So I did that. I don't know, that's all I can think of for right now. I still manually count inventory once a year, thread inventory, and I'm down to ordering like once a year, which has helped because I was ordering 3 or 4 times a year. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for sharing all that. I know that everything that you have shared, I know has inspired a lot of people. And just thank you so much for opening up and sharing that. And we're gonna, if you can hang out with us while we're talking to Debbie, we're gonna move on to Debbie Giordano. But Jen, feel free to, if you think of something you want to add into the conversation, you have that liberty. So now we're going to go to Debbie. Debbie, thank you for joining us. Debbie Giordano, we're really glad to have you here. And yeah, we're just going to start out with some of the same type of questions with you. Where are you located? Where's home for you?
I'm located in Northeast PA over by Bloomsburg, near the Poconos.
Okay. And is that a rural area or is it more, is it
It's
pretty
it's
rural?
pretty it's pretty rural. I'm from New Jersey, so Pennsylvania is definitely more rural.
Anything's rural compared to New Jersey. Well, how long have you been doing long arm quilting?
I got my Gamel Statler in 2019, so 4 years.
Okay. And how did you decide to get into what made you decide to get into this?
Well, I've been quilting since 1988, and part of the quilting process is quilting the quilt, and I was doing it on my domestic. um I didn't like how it came out. I didn't like the tucks I always seemed to get and everything. And then one day my husband came up while I was struggling with the quilt, and he's like, "Oh, we need to find a better way." So that's how that started.
So, and uh did you get your long arm specifically for business or just to finance your fabric obsession or
A little bit of both, but mostly for business.
okay. And did you started out with a gamel?
I started out with the Statler Gamel, yes.
And
That was the only
how'd you
one.
come to that decision?
Well, we were on vacation, and on the way back home, there was a AQS quilt show, and I said to my husband and the other couple that was with us, "Let's stop by." And I went to every single brand of long arm there and said, "I know nothing about long arming. Tell me why I should buy yours." And by the end of it, I was pretty convinced about the Gamel because of it's a industrial. It's hardworking. There's nothing like you could fix it yourself. You don't have to wait too long for service or whatever. So that's why we went with the Gamel.
And you say you started out right away also with the Statler?
Yes, I told my husband I want a computer or nothing. So
So you didn't give him any kind of choice there. It's okay.
well, it's funny because he's always wanted a Harley, like for years. So he finally got his Harley a couple years, yeah, several years ago, and he's like, "Well, this is your Harley to you, and how could I deprive you of your Harley?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I could even use it in the rain, in the snow, in the winter."
Well, and that's not the first time that I've heard that exact same comparison talking to the husband. You've got a Harley, I'm going to get a Statler. So,
Mhm.
so do you still have the same Statler that you started with today?
I do. I do.
Still going strong?
It is still going strong. Originally, it had a couple hiccups, but you guys were able to figure it out and replace something, and I've had no trouble since then.
And it should last many more years also, I will tell you. Um, so let's move on. You're now in the business. You were already for a lot of years doing just quilting on a sewing machine. Um, did you already know that there would be enough long arm business available in your town to support a long arm quilter or another? Were there other long arm quilters or?
Was Yeah, I wasn't sure. I After I bought the Gamel, I realized that my two local quilt stores have Gamels and offer that service. There is several long arm independents around my area that have had their own business and everything. So to try to break into that, and gain trust from these customers was a little hard for me in the beginning.
And so did you start out doing a lot of advertising, or what was the process there? Just word of mouth?
Pretty much word of mouth. I belong to 6 local quilt guilds. I go every month. I show my work. Um, I have Instagram. I do have Facebook, but pretty much it's word of mouth. One of the local independent long armors, she has been one of my other big cheerleaders because she's starting to get out of the business. Not totally out, but she's been handing out my card saying, you know, she's a good quilter. I've seen her work and everything. So that's been helping lately.
So how do you do advertising these days, or is it still pretty much
Yeah,
word of mouth?
just yeah, word of mouth. Quilt meetings are pretty much the
And
biggest advertisement.
so from the time you say 2019 was when you first got it?
Yes.
And oh, I wanted to ask you, by the way, so what about the financing for when you first bought that machine? Did you like have it on hand, or did you have to save up, or what was the deal with that?
We took a home equity loan. So
Okay.
I'm that's how we did it.
Okay. And so that, okay. Now, as far as the customer thing, have you the long arm customers has that grown from the time when you first started?
It definitely has. Since I got in 2019, later in the year, then COVID hit. I couldn't go to any quilt guilds or anything. So for like probably a year and a half, I didn't have any customers, but I did quilt for Quilts of Valor. I've done like 200 Quilts of Valor so far. And that has helped me to hone my skills and learn my Statler.
Okay. So have you had any other job during this? I know you were quilting, before.
Yes, I had a part-time job Monday through Friday, and then I worked in a restaurant other days at night and everything.
And now are you just doing quilting, or?
No, I actually am still in the restaurant, but my
Okay.
other Monday through Friday job, I was able to say goodbye, thank you very much. But and I mean, I've been quilting about 20 hours a week, give or
Okay.
take.
Okay. And do you do only edge to edge, or do you do custom also, or?
I do edge to edge and custom. I did just do a custom for a quilt guild for their uh scholarship quilt. And I did a pro bono, and everybody, really liked it. So
What kind of ratio would you say, like edge to edge in custom?
probably 99% edge to edge.
Gotcha. You can get a lot more done with that edge to edge, can't you?
Oh yeah.
So, and I know we talked to Jen about her rates. How are your rates structured, and what kind of charging? You go by the inch, or tell us a little bit about how you do that.
I do have a minimum of $50, and then I go 2 cents per square inch. My husband, he's like, oh, if you're starting off, go lower. Law lowball the other quilters, and I'm like, nope, I know what my worth is. I know I could do this. I am as good as the other people. I am staying at 2 cents.
So how much is an average size queen quilt, would you say?
If it's like 80 by
Ballpark.
90, it's 144.
Okay, okay. Let's see. I'm trying to stay on top of checking my questions this time. All right. I have Cindy is asking what vendors do you use, and types of thread that work best for you?
I use Checker. I do Linda's Electric Quilts. So far those are, oh, and Threads Run Through It. Those are the three that I have used. The thread that I like to use is Omni and Glide. I use a lot of Omni because Glide sometimes.
Okay. And about how many quilts do you do a year, would you say?
Well, this year has been my biggest year, and I'm up to like 200 quilts so far. And I've done like 563 quilts in the past 4 years.
Okay, awesome. So this what'd you say, 200?
200 so far this year.
And how does that compare to your first year?
Well, like I said, with COVID and everything,
Oh, you
it
didn't.
really was, yeah, nothing.
So you got the machine in 2019 and it was right. Yeah. Okay. I got you. So, in your business, do you sell supplies, batting, and do you offer services like binding, piecing, or what about that?
I do have batting, and I do offer piecing services, binding. I have made quilts from scratch. I offer that too. So I don't have any wide backs yet. I'm thinking of bringing that in.
Okay. So, in growing your business, and I know you're still in the process of that, can you think of what was possibly the hardest aspect of that, growing the business?
Just being able to be trusted by the locals. You know, they're long armors. They've been with them for years, and they feel like they have to stay with them, even though my turnaround time is a couple days compared to their 3 to 6 months.
So you find it a little difficult to break into the already existing ones there.
Yes.
Okay. Have you been able to get any more inroads into that, or any success, and if so, how have you, and what have you done for that?
Well, that local long armor, like I said, she's been my biggest cheerleader. She gives out cards. She has sent customers to me. So that I say that's the biggest.
Sounds like
Because if
she's kind of been maybe a mentor in this part, or just
a friend, yeah, I
I got
wouldn't
you.
say a mentor,
Yeah.
but I even have like the local quilt shops. They don't do custom, so they've been trying to send custom people to me, custom quilts to me. So to get that endorsement from other long armors, they feel better.
Gotcha. So so this year you've done 200 quilts, and so it sounds like you're putting more time into it. now than you have been in the past. Do you feel like you're getting more control over your personal schedule with being able to do this type of thing?
Absolutely. Since I don't work Monday through Friday anymore, it's opened up a whole different, schedule for me. So after COVID happened, or during COVID, I had to move to Philadelphia for my daughter-in-law, and that even backed up my time to quilt, to learn how to quilt and to use the Statler.
Okay. So for all the people that are watching, can you think of what is something that when you first started out that you wish someone would have told you at that time?
Just know your value. Don't downplay your value. You are worth what you ask for. The only thing is, you do have to practice and watch YouTube videos and take classes and research, but definitely know your worth.
And for both of you have have worked on the Creative Studio software. Have you gotten educational resources, or how have you been able to learn that? Is it just self-taught, or
It's a lot of self-taught, watching videos. I did go to Quilting with Confidence in 2019, and just hooking up with other quilters and asking questions. And even if it's a different brand, you could still learn.
And Jen, what about you? I don't know if I really talked to you much about the learning the software and some of the educational. How tell us a little bit about that with you?
Yeah, I mostly self-taught as well. I got my manual there. So when I bought my machine, there was a manual, and I read that before it even arrived. And then I used that paper manual to pretty much help with everything, but also YouTube videos. And I've taken a couple of classes on um, the on-demand classes on the Gimbal website.
Yes.
And talk to people. But I'm kind of I don't know, I really like Creative Studio, so I just kind of go in there and play on my laptop, and that has really been fun. So.
Yeah, and I find in talking to people in tech support that different people learn different ways, and I think it is a huge I think it is of huge importance for people, especially if they're first starting out, to take the time and effort and energy to learn how to operate that software. And whether you're a teach yourself person, or whether you are somebody who learns better with videos. I know on gamel.com there are resources where you can actually purchase online video courses. A lot of it comes from the Quilting with Confidence, and I know when you these days when you purchase a new Statler, or get a Statler retrofit or something like that, you get the free new owner training, which is a slew of videos. And I think I'm hoping very soon, I think those are going to come up for purchase also. Looks like there may be a couple of other questions on here. Let me see if anybody else is. Okay. I have Cindy. Oh, Cindy is asking, how do you price your batting? by the running foot? Yeah, and both of you can answer
I
that.
do by the yard.
Okay,
I do it by the inch.
okay. Do you charge more for custom, and how do you determine what to charge on custom? You can both answer that.
Jen?
What about it, Jen? Do
I-
you have?
Yeah, so I've kind of done it different ways. I think that the per square inch is neater and it's nicer, but it's not the fairest for either of us, myself or the client. Sometimes it can just be really off. So a couple years in, I started charging by the hour, and I charge $35 an hour, and I generally include a little bit of design time in that. But if the design time starts getting, more than an hour and a half, then I start charging. That's when I start the clock. And then when I'm working on the custom quilt, I just like clock in, clock out, and I make note of the time that I'm working on it.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Debbie, to that part?
My custom quilting starts at like 5 cents per square inch. And then if it gets to be a lot of hours or something, I'll talk with the customer and we'll come up with some kind of agreement.
Okay. And I have one question about Douglas is asking, with doing 200 quilts this year, what software does Jen use to manage her business? I mean, yeah, let's see. Well, I don't know if he was talking about Jen. Debbie, you did the 200, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay,
use
well,
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that. All right. Well, guys, this has been very, I know, very inspiring and encouraging to those who are listening. Is there anything else that you have felt that you wanted to share before we go, that you didn't get a chance to, or do you think you're good?
I'm good. Thank you for
It's
having me.
Okay. Well, ladies, we definitely appreciate you joining us. Once again, it's Jen Saxena and Debbie Giordano, and you can definitely look them up. And if you have any further questions for them, and we just really appreciate you being with us. And for the people that are watching right now, we look forward to seeing you next week on this podcast, and we will go from there. Thank you very much, ladies, and everyone have a great evening.
you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.